Hi, you're listening to Childless and Moving Onward. This is the place where we talk about thriving in life when you're a woman who is childless, not by choice, regardless of the road that brought you to childlessness. Hi, and welcome to Childless and Moving Onward. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if this is your first time, and thanks everyone for joining me. One of my goals for this podcast is to challenge society's narrow lens on women's worth. I'm Gail Miller, your host, physician, life coach, and speaker. I'm here ready to unpack a loaded topic: why marital and motherhood status seem to be the only yardsticks for measuring a woman's value. Today, I'm going to dive into this narrow-minded societal view that judges women based only on what's on our ring finger and what our uterus has done. This will be a journey through difficult emotions, unexpected revelations, and the transformative power of redefining our worth beyond Mrs. and Mom. I will try to add in an occasional chuckle when it's appropriate, when I can, because sometimes laughter is the medicine we need for this, not only this absurd and harmful society norm, but the pain that comes with being childless not by choice. And for some, it's painful being single not by choice. And I feel the need for some relief. So let's shatter some of the stereotypes and expand the narrative of what it means to be a woman in today's world. And most important is to broaden our own narrative for ourselves and learn to value ourselves outside of marital and reproductive status. The narrow focus on women's marital and motherhood status is the result of deeply ingrained cultural expectations. And it's rooted in some troublesome history and unsettling ideas. First is the historic context. Traditionally, the view of women being seen primarily as wives and mothers has spanned across different cultures. It's been throughout time, so that women's worth has been tied entirely to the roles of wife and mom. So despite seeming social progress, this really damaging and outdated historical perspective continues to have influence, and it influences attitudes, both from others about us and how we see ourselves. Second is that there's an intense societal expectation for women to become moms, and that's regardless of whatever cultural group, community you're in. This expectation is universal. It makes motherhood the norm, and anyone without children is viewed as not just outside the norm, but some consider us to be abnormal, and to some we're seen as deviants. Same for women who are not married, seen as deviants, whether it's because you're single and never married, or you're married and you're divorced, or you're in a relationship but you're not married. It's you're viewed as abnormal by some. The pressure from society can lead to guilt and anxiety for women who don't conform to the expectations. And that includes those who are child-free, those who choose to be child-free or choose not to have a partner, not to be married. For those who are childless not by choice, it certainly adds to the already considerable pain and negative self-views. A third challenging historical issue that leads to judgment of a woman's worth being only through the lens of marital and motherhood status is that media portrays women in those roles. And they portray women in those roles positively, while women who are not in those roles are portrayed in a negative light. And that reinforces the idea that a woman's value comes only from being a wife and mother. And then there's the fourth issue, and that's the contradictory expectations that women face. Women are expected to excel in wifely and motherly duties and at the same time excel in career. Women who place focus on their career are criticized for not doing more to fulfill the expected roles of wife and mother. Also, though, women are criticized for trying to have it all. So women face this impossible standard that's both contradictory and also prioritizes the roles of wife and mother above all else. The societal focus on women's marital and motherhood status is harmful to both women and society as a whole because it ignores the contributions women can make in other ways. It sets up difficult expectations and contributes to women's negative self-views for those who do not fulfill both of these roles. For women, conforming to these expectations can have serious negative consequences on well-being. Increased stress, anxiety, and guilt, a lower self-esteem, and then feelings of inadequacy for those of us who don't meet the societal standards. But women can challenge societal expectations focused solely on marital and motherhood status. Okay, so let's talk about some steps to drive this change, drive the change of these expectations. And the first, in this case, it is most important. And that is, it starts with the expectations of yourself. Recognize that your worth goes beyond societal expectations. To change societal expectations, your own self-definition needs to be examined and changed to recognize that your marital and reproductive statuses do not define either who you are or your worth. Now, admittedly, I had a lot of work to do on this. I was so used to the societal expectations of women that were supposed to be here for others. I believed this in a holistic way, meaning I bought into the idea that all societal expectations were valid beyond it only being about taking care of others. Worse, though, is that my mindset had become backwards. I viewed myself through society's perspective. I had to recognize that until I changed how I felt about myself, others wouldn't be able to see me as anything but less than a failure because I don't have children. And until I got married as well, because I married later in life, and I was viewed negatively for that. And I had to change how I saw myself and not see myself as less than, because nobody else was going to see me in any other way if that's how I felt about myself. And that realization was crucial for me to start building a stronger sense of self-love, acceptance, and confidence, regardless of my childless status and before I got married, regardless of my marital status. It was a challenging journey. None of this is easy. But as I began to shift my perspective, I discovered new aspects of myself, new aspects that were worthy of appreciation, but that I hadn't seen in myself before. It was all there. I just wasn't allowing myself to see it because I was viewing myself through society's eyes or society's expectations. So I was seeing myself as unworthy and less than, and not seeing the things that were worthy of appreciating about myself. So I started to focus on my personal growth, my relationships, and the unique contributions I could make to the world that were not tied to motherhood. And so gradually I did learn to define my worth based on my character, my passions, my impact on others. And yes, you can have impact on others without being a mom. So I viewed myself or defined myself in those roles instead of through my ability to, or my lack of ability to have children. That shift not only improved my self-image, but it changed how others perceived me. They then began to see me as confident and a multifaceted person that I was becoming, and not this person who lacked confidence and saw myself as not equal, less than, a failure. So the most important thing that you can do to challenge societal expectations of women is to change your own expectations of women and of yourself. Second is to highlight new narratives of women and their accomplishments in areas like careers and activism, creativity, volunteering. Show the depth and breadth of women's lives and that women have value other than as wives and moms. A third way to challenge the expectation that women's values should be based solely on motherhood and marital status is to challenge those stereotypes. Question the assumptions that are made about women's roles, whether it's within your personal social circle, your larger personal community, family, workplace, social settings, and social media. Fourth is advocate for policies in your workplace that value all women, not just those who are married, not just those who are moms, but all women. The fifth way is to build support networks that celebrate women's contributions other than the contributions through traditional roles. Show that these women experience happiness and success with life circumstances other than marriage and motherhood. So through steps like these, you can help as an individual, and women collectively can help to reshape societal norms and expectations. And that creates a culture that values all of women's contributions, not just those who are married and have children. But sometimes, before dealing with our larger community and society as a whole, we need to start with a single person. Just as with everything else, it's usually done with small steps. And this is the same. We start with small step with a single person. And the first one who needs that work is us as individuals. We need to work on overcoming the internalized beliefs that women's values is tied only to marital and motherhood status. Until we work on ourselves and recognize that our worth does not come from being a wife and mother, we can't be effective at initiating, motivating change around us. So to help you to work on that mindset, consider these tips. First is challenge your own thoughts. Recognize when you're having those limiting thoughts like, what am I if I'm not a mom? I'm nothing if I'm not a wife or not a mom. Get curious about your thoughts like that and ask yourself, are they truly valid? Are they based in fact, or have you been conditioned by society, whether it's the larger society or your personal social circle or community? Have you been conditioned to think these things? Have you taken those messages, expectations from others and internalized them to the point that you can't separate out what others are telling you, what others are telling you should be the expectations from what reality is? And the reality is that you have value regardless of whether you're married or you're a mom. The second is to educate yourself about women who have accomplishments outside of societal norms. Learn about those women who have made contributions other than being moms. They've contributed through science, through the arts, through activism, through volunteer work. The third way to see your worth as related to more than just marriage and motherhood is to practice using self-affirmations. I know that may seem like, oh, I've heard this before, or that's ridiculous. But yeah, you have to start recognizing the other parts of yourself that are the parts that are worthwhile. And remind yourself of them. Acknowledge your skills. Recognize your contributions to the world around you. And I'm not talking about contributions don't have to be, I've cured world hunger. Contributions are, I volunteered at a dog shelter. I helped my neighbor who couldn't bring her groceries in because she hurt herself. I paid for the person behind me for their coffee. I mean, contributions are just something that had an impact, positive impact on someone else. There's no big or small. Remind yourself of those on a regular basis with things like posting affirmations around your home. The more you tell yourself and show yourself, oh yeah, I have done this, you retrain your brain to recognize what you've contributed and that it matters. Make these affirmations your home screen on your computer or your phone. Put stickies up. A fourth tip for recognizing for yourself that you're worthy, no matter whether you're a wife or mom, is to participate in activities that are empowering. Pursue hobbies or volunteer work that align with your values and showcase your passions and contributions. Changing deeply rooted beliefs takes time. And the longer those beliefs have been in place, and they have for eons, the more time it takes to work through. And so those are deeply rooted beliefs in society that have been there for eons, but also those have been internalized by individual women. And so you may have held these for quite some time. So working through them doesn't happen quickly. The transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not quick or simple, but the change can be done. Be patient with yourself as you work to reframe your thinking. All right, that's it for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I will be back with you next week. Thanks for listening to Childless and Moving Onward. I hope this episode was helpful to you. If you liked what you heard, you can get more help from me with my guide, Steps to Overcome Self-Doubt and Feel Worthy When Being Childless Isn't by Choice. click on the link in the episode notes, or you can find it on my website, pathonward.com. Until next week, thanks again for listening.